Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone who will be able to watch this archived, and I'm not sure if I should wait for anybody to tune in before I, introduce things. This is an unusual stream in that we are doing this publicly. In the future, streams will almost always be a patrons-only perk. But today I am working on the cleanup pass of, excuse me while I make weird sounds, there we go. On the cleanup pass of this section of the Ornithoscelida Synapisode, which is pretty short. Whoa. And the working name is Taxonomy. The actual title of the segment is What Exactly is Saurischia? Because the Barron et al. Paper from 2017 had some ideas about what a Saurischia definition should look like that I don't necessarily agree with. Beginning, there we go. So I'm going to RAM preview this. The authors propose several new definitions for existing names, including dinosaur itself. They're fine, but they want to use Saurischia for a much less inclusive clade of animals than it usually denotes, namely sauropodomorphs plus... Hey! The RAM preview cut out there. Did we run out of RAM? That's impossible. No, we have all kinds of RAM. Oh well. Hey, we have one person watching. Hello, one person. By the way, if you want to chat with me, you have to do it either in the chat here on the YouTube page or through the Livestream patrons portal on the Discord. Carrie Seymour is here. Hello! I am sorry that I am so late. I meant to do this stream at 3, but at no point in between Saturday night and this morning, or in fact today at 2:45, did I think, hey, I should really find my microphone. So that's what I was doing, is finding the microphone. I suppose I could have just used a webcam and taken out the video from it. You'll notice that my viewport is a little weird. I've got my bar over here that's on my second monitor, and then my main monitor is just my timeline and my canvas, or composition viewport, I suppose, in After Effects. The purpose of that is that I need to be able to work with all of this, but I occasionally need to switch over to that view, and my monitors are not 1080p, but the stream is, so I've got this collage happening. And we'll see how that goes. And my mic is falling off the desk. There we go. So the purpose of the cleanup pass is to go from this rough look to a more finished, pretty look. The most substantial difference is that it gets a pretty textured paper background and, you know, shadows and lighting and stuff. Did I even add lighting? Let's add lighting. I need to open up number 8, textured. Oh, I guess I'm not doing lights. That's right. So for a normal episode, I'm actually using the 3D function of After Effects to simulate shadow and lighting on the paper, but I remember now that for some episodes I'm doing something much simpler. I just have, if I turn on my modes here, I've got a color burn and a multiply to do a vignette. It's much more subtle, which is fine because the visuals are simpler anyway. Let's see here. Yeah, I guess that's fine. So on this shot, the first thing we need to do is go in and see if there's any motion we need to do. Let's see here. This starts here. What? I'm not sure why these layers start all the way back here, but I'm not going to worry about them yet because all we're seeing is these layers here. These are the different definitions. Hey, how about you actually zoom when I zoom in? Thank you. These are the different definitions that the study proposes for different groups. And I'm going to end my work area here. The authors propose several new definitions for existing names, including dinosaur itself. All right, so let's see here. Hey. We're going to say that since we're cutting from the title card to this, I don't have to worry about bringing this in any fancy way. So we only need to worry about the motion to go to Saurischia coming in. Which I think I was smart. We're just going to back up by, I don't know, a second. And we're going to say position and scale. Control Shift F9 to ease out. Shift F9 to ease in. They're fine, but they... Okay, so once that's moved, we're going to then bring in Saurischia. So hopefully I parented that properly. Okay, those layers are orange. Where are they? Hello, orange layers. Position. Those are parented to Saurischia. Why is it over here? Those are parented to Saurischia. That's fine. All right. Deal with that in a minute. So since these are all parented to layer 31 Saurischia, all I have to do is move the position on Saurischia, and that will change them appropriately. And I had to check that we're starting at the right frame, and we are. So, misclicked. Clearly my first day with the tablet. It's not my first day with the tablet. So I know that I want to end up here, but I'm going to start off screen probably at the bottom. So all we got to do is increase our Y value until it's off screen, and there we go. And let's do this. Itself, they're fine, but they want to use Saurischia for a much less inclusive clade of animals. All right, so that's good. Next, we just got to bring it, well, next we have to make this not a sketch. We have to make that a piece of finished vector art, and we have to make the sparrow actually... Okay, that's parented to Saurischia. That's probably bad. Let's parent this to drop to this. There we go. Let's move it up so it's like sitting on my palm. Yes, that's supposed to be me. It's a cartoon. I'm not going to worry too much about whether it has any actual likeness. You have to actually right-click gray area to get a new shape layer. I'm going to make this orange as well so that we know that it goes with this. Alt bracket to start it at this, and I'm going to name it me. And we're going to say add, yeah, we're going to add a group. Then we're going to add a path to the group, and that should have brought up, yep, pen tool. And we're just going to start placing points. the way that our art style works in Your Dinosaurs Are Wrong is that most everything is done with straight edges. Actually, that doesn't even need to be like that. There we go. All right. Add path. All right, so this group is going to be light. Add another group, and annoyingly, if you have a group selected, it adds the group inside the group. I mean, I guess it's not annoying. It is occasionally useful, but it's, for me, it's useful less often than it is not. Let's see here. So then we're going to do the shirt. I guess we don't need a point there. I like digital art. If you put something where you don't want it, you can just delete it. I'm using Control plus and minus to zoom, even though I know I can use period and comma, because in Flash, period and comma step the frame, so I'm not in the habit of using them. And I started in Flash. Let's see here. Oh, try this again. All right. Add another group, and I'm going to add a path to the group, and we're just going to make that look like this, just to have some delineate. Actually, I don't even need that there, do I? Yeah. All right. So sometimes After Effects does this thing where when I let go of something and move my cursor while I'm doing it, it doesn't let go right away, and it like drags it halfway across my screen, like what you just saw. And I don't know if it's just my processor is slow. Add group. Add path. I feel really nice to be in this phase. I know it's weird, but the storyboarding phase is what I call it when I'm actually like drawing this stuff and figuring out what the images for each thing are supposed to be. That takes forever. Whereas this, even though it's time consuming, as you can see, it feels like progress more so than than storyboarding step does. Path. I guess I should just join that together, huh? So sometimes it does that. When you go to create a point, it will automatically, yeah, like that. It'll automatically decide, hey, you wanted a Bezier curve there, didn't you? And the only way to get rid of it is to alt-click it again. Or I'll click it at all, since it's just a normal click to create. I'm debating whether I should put a word bubble here, because the shot is I hold up this sparrow, like, why aren't you using this? I'm considering whether I should have a speech bubble that's like, you dropped this, or something. But it's on screen for such a short period. It's on screen for less than 5 seconds. So I think that's probably too much to put on there. Plus, I hope that the pose and the facial expression communicate what is needed. Hey, we have a bunch more viewers, I've noticed. If you would like to chat, I would ask that you do it in the YouTube chat and not the general Discord. If you don't want to chat, that's also fine. I'll just stay here talking about the process as we go. And our last path that we have to add is just this little detail for the ear. All right, then we can add a stroke. Where is it? There you go. And I'm going to make that, well, I have to pick some colors now, don't I? Fortunately, I have a little palette, which is not the way you're supposed to do palettes, by the way. They have like a built-in thing for this now with the libraries panel, but I just have a bunch of solids in folders, and that's how I pick my colors for Your Dinosaurs Are Wrong. Or at least how I pick a starting point and then manage from there. So this is going to be this color, and I probably want it to be like 6. All right. And then dark is going to have a fill, and that fill is not going to be red, it is going to be that same color we just picked. And you'll notice that it's filling the inside of that. Oh. There we go. You'll notice that it's filling the inside of that. So what I need to do is, yay, okay. There's 2 ways I could have gone about that. I could have added a merge paths there, but I didn't have to, because if you just have a stroke or if you have a path inside another path that's going the opposite way, it'll automatically know, okay, that's an interior thing. And it seems to get unhappy if you have a whole lot of merge paths. Like I have another comp towards the end, I think it is the conclusion composition, has a bunch of shape layers with merge paths on, and it's slow to update. I assume because it has to do all of those calculations, but I'm not sure. Again, might just be my computer. Add a stroke. This stroke is... Actually, this stroke needs to be the same color. I don't know why I called it. That being the case, I'm just going to move this path up here, and it's going to be fine. And we'll get rid of that group. There we go. Add fill. This also is not going to be bright red. This is going to be that. And light. We're going to add fill. And we're going to tell it to be the light blue. Cool. Let's see how that looks. Oh, it would help if we hid our guide layer here. It would also help if we parented this to null. 46. Okay, I'm not scrolling to that, so I'm just going to take this and go. That's going to take forever too. Okay. In that case, we want null 1. All right, there we go. All right. Then, oh, I might be dumb anyway. Yeah, I just want to parent this to dropped. There we go. And now I can use that as I would use a null. So I can say position, add a keyframe. I'm just going to go to 17.0. And another keyframe. I'm not going to ease into this one. I shouldn't have eased into that other one now that I remember. If you control click a keyframe, it removes any easing that you applied. I realized this is coming from off screen. There's no reason to ease into this or ease out of this keyframe. But they want to use... Yeah. Also, that's probably too slow anyway. Fine, but they want to use Sarischia for a... Okay. Then we just do that same thing that we did down there over here, and we can say... Joakim1400 at some point said, "So happy to see you guys are coming back. Terribly sorry about the Geek Group." Yes, we are too, and I am glad to be back. Or to be coming back, I should say. I'm sorry if I didn't see your chat until now. I was a little focused. For a much less they want to use Sarischia for a much less inclusive... I wonder if I should... I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to adjust how my nose looks there. There we go. And two, I'm going to rotate this as it comes in. Assuming I can. I can! Okay, I was hoping that this would be the case. The anchor point is really close to the hand, so what I can do is have it start... Have it start rotating at the same place where it starts coming in. You see, if you modify a property that is keyframeable, it creates a keyframe for you if there isn't one. So now it should... Actually, I could probably pull that even further. Yeah, like that. For a much less... But that's a lot of movement, so we're going to slow down the move. For a much less inclusive clade of animal. Okay, there's no reason to start rotating while we're still off screen, so I'm going to move that forward, Control Shift F9 to ease out of that keyframe. For a much less inclusive... That's better. See. Oh, Joakim says, no worries, man. Thank you. So now it's like the... For a much less inclusive... If I played that in reverse, it would look like I'm holding the bird above the water as I slowly drown. Like, fly away, little bird, and it's like, I don't want to leave you, Stephen. So in context, if we go to Taxonomy Textured, what we have is blue on green, which doesn't look stellar. I know what I could do. I'm going to go to my effects and presets and find hue saturation. Oh, Carrie Seymour says, "Well, that makes me sound really shallow for being happy that you're doing a stream that's not evening your time. Normally US-based things work out past my bedtime here in the UK." You're right, they would. I tend to forget about time zones going the other way, since I'm usually dealing with a friend of mine who lives in Denver, so he's always ahead of me. I need hue, saturation. And we need the effect controls. Hey, there we go. Wow, look how wide those bars are. So what I could do is desaturate it, but that looks kind of ugly. I could make it lighter, which also looks a bit ugly, but what if we saturate it as well? I'm not too happy with that either. What color did I use for outgroups and support? I used purple there. So what if I just used blue? Or cyan. I don't know why I said it all dismissively. Like, who uses cyan? After Effects has decided it needs to autosave, which means I should probably manually save. Did it do it? I pressed Control S, but it didn't save right away. So now we're all set. I'm going to take this hue saturation, and I can't do that anymore. All right. I can still paste it. Okay. That's cool. Don't need you. And now I'm just going to take my lightness and crank that down. Yeah, and then I can adjust my colors here. Oh. If I lock this composition, I can make it just... So, Joachim says, thanks for pronouncing my name right, but now I don't remember how I pronounced your name earlier, and I'm panicking slightly because I can't remember if I said Joachim or Joachim. So you're welcome, but it was completely by accident, clearly. Anyway, lock this composition, and I go to my pre-comp, and I say I want this to be, oh, and it went to the other screen. There we go. I want this to be darker. I want this to be like brightness 38. And that was a bad one to use. Oh, they added a new feature. I should make use of it. I can tell it, hey, for whatever this color is, just make it whatever this color is. And it's super easy now. You used to have to write this manually, which is not a lot of code to have to write manually, but you still have to remember the syntax and stuff, whereas now you just click and drag and you can automatically link things, and it's great. Oh, I accidentally linked it to itself, which is redundant. That's kind of cool that you can, but there's no reason to do that. All right, so yeah, I made that a lot darker, and that looks a bit better. The reason I had to do that is that I can't, I guess what I should have done is just made these little strokes enclosed shapes, and that would have, then I wouldn't have had to use a stroke and a fill, but you saw how easy it was to link those together, so I lost almost nothing doing it that way. And I'm going to make this darker as well. Not by a lot, though. You'll notice it doesn't live update while I'm adjusting the color. It only updates once I have, and that's sufficient. All right. Unlock this. The next thing we have to do is go to this frame. Sauropodomorphs plus. Okay. Pressing U to bring up just keyframed properties. Oh, I had a layer selected, so that only did that for the layer that I had. There we go. Now all layers that have keyframe properties have the keyframes expanded. We have, well, I have to know where the sound bite is, don't I? I pressed LL to show waveforms on this layer. Namely, sauropod. Okay. So I'm going to start the move here. I'm going to end, well, let's just do another second. I tend to default to have moves be a second and then look at how they feel when I'm doing this. When you're doing like character animation, this is a terrible method because nothing a human does is going to take a second most of the time. You really need to figure out your timings more organically. But for what is essentially a slideshow with bells and whistles attached, this seems to work out rather well for me. Joachim asks, have you always used After Effects? I have not. I initially started animating on Flash, and I still use Flash for some things. Some of these boards were drawn in Flash. But I made the transition to After Effects when I was in school for animation, which was, oh God, 10 years ago now. And I've been using that since. It's a little less... It's a little slower and a little less intuitive to do animation in After Effects compared to Flash, but you can do a lot more. And you can incorporate it with other elements, and it's a lot easier than in Flash. Like if I wanted to put video footage in here, it would be easy peasy because After Effects is a compositing program, whereas in Flash, that's a pain. Also, this program, oddly enough, does not crash as often as Flash did. I keep calling it Flash. Adobe Animate CC is what it's called now, but I still use Flash CS6 because the paths behave themselves. Anyway, what I failed to do was set my position keyframe start point. So it was just keyframing between itself and itself. So let's try that again. Nodes, namely sauropodomorphs. There we go. So all we need to do there is move around there. We need to get me out of there. So we're going to expand. Well, we're probably just going to extend that by like a second. Let's say that ends there. We're going to say this ends here as well. This is alt bracket, or alt close bracket rather. I'm going to say before this. All right, I guess this. Nah, that's good. That's cool. It's cool. It's all gonna be fine. Get that right off screen. I could actually probably take less time too. Let's do that. And this needs to come in. Let's see here. I'm going to break this up actually into chunks. I'm going to say that Herrerasaurus is the child of Diplodocus, and Triceratops is the child of Passer. I'm talking about the layer parenting. I'm not saying that Herrerasaurs are descendants of the Diplodocids. Clearly, from the cladogram. The extremely simplified, probably to the point of uninformative cladogram there. But here we go. We're going to say these will have a separate position from this. And I'm going to press UU to bring up all modified properties for the layer. We don't have one. Cool. Add, where is it? Trim paths. So if I add a trim path to this, I can animate, I can sort of draw the paths in automatically, which is not easy to do in Flash, actually. So that's another thing After Effects has over Flash. Once you have a vector, you can do more things to it. And we're going to, I drew a box around you, you must select. There we go. We're going to have this start at the same frame that it starts to come in. And we're going to say there is where it's done coming in. I wonder. No, we're going to mess with position. I had an instinct that since it's tilted, I should be using anchor point, because that way I can transform it on its own axis instead of A separate act. Yeah, because we keep using position later on. We're going to use anchor point. I'm using J and K to jump to previous and next keyframe. I apologize for the lag. I'm not sure why it's going quite that slowly. It's not like there's a lot on screen or anything. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Apparently this is rotated 90, so my x-axis is actually going up and down, which is throwing me right off. Namely, sauropodomorphs, then it usually denotes. Namely, sauropodomorphs. Oh. Well, that's not what I want to do then. Usually denotes. Namely, sauropodomorphs, then it usually denotes. Namely, sauropodomorphs. All right, so there's some things going on there. The first thing we need to change is this needs to be in motion the entire time it's on screen, which is basically the entire time that this is coming in. We probably don't want to start the paths drawing until there, because that's when we have something to draw towards. Maybe we don't want to start the paths drawing in until this frame. Yeah, that makes sense. Podomorphs, then it usually denote. There we go. All right, the other thing we need to fix is how, as we go through here, you can see that I don't exist below the waist because clearly I am a Muppet. So what can we do? I guess this just has to leave earlier, so we'll do that. This has to be totally off screen. And we'll end both of those at that frame. Oh, Human asked, or Joachim asked, if people want to send new dinosaur toys, would they have to send it to a new address? Yes. Once we are at a phase where we're accepting new dinosaur toys, we will totally update the address. Right now, we kind of have enough of a backlog that we don't need to be sent new toys. But once that becomes relevant, yes, there will be a new address. Although, I suspect that that is not going to stop people sending them to 902 Leonard. So whoever buys that building is going to be very perplexed to be receiving dinosaur toys probably for at least a year from now. Like, what we're going to do, we may already have removed the address from the descriptions on the old episodes, but I'm not actually sure. All right, the last thing we have to do is make sure those at the top there don't just disappear once the move starts. We need to actually remove them properly. So we're going to take all of these and it's like It's like Spumoni ice cream over here. Even though it's in the wrong order, I think. It's usually pistachio cherry chocolate, not cherry chocolate pistachio. Well, now I want Spumoni ice cream. Why did I mention that? There we go. Oh, I didn't need to do that. I needed to do that. Namely, sauropodomorph. Whoa. That was a fun little glitch. It went sauropodomorphs. Lizard-footed morph. Namely, sauropodomorphs plus Herrerasaurids. It usually denotes. Namely, sauropodomorphs plus Herrerasaurids. All right, the very last thing we need to do. Oh, Carrie Seymour commented, I can see why the sparrow is a good representative of theropods birds, but a part of me wishes, just for the purpose of convincing doubters that birds really are dinosaurs, that it was the cassowary. Yeah. I would not be opposed to... I've often used an ostrich because I just happen to have vector art of an ostrich that I had previously drawn, but using ratites as the representative of the bird clade might make a little more sense. I'm using sparrows here because that's what the authors used. Same reason I'm using Diplodocus and Triceratops and Herrerasaurus. Anyway, the last thing we need to do is change can mean to come in like a fancy fly-in way. Joachim asks, what has been one of the best so bad it's good toys you've received? So bad it's good toys. I mean, the Deinonychus that we used in the Deinonychus episode is like doubly wrong. It's wrong. It is representing a wrong interpretation of the animal, but it's not even doing that interpretation well. So it's like wrong squared. It looks extremely doofy. Similar story with the Therizinosaurus toy, now that I think about it. Whereas that, like the Deinonychus was that way because they don't seem to have tried at all. Whereas the Therizinosaurus toy, it seems like they were trying, but they misplaced their efforts. I'm trying to think if there's any toys that we have received that we haven't done episodes about yet that would fit that criteria of so bad it's good. I'd have to go look at the bin. Namely, sauropodomorphs plus Herrera. Okay, that doesn't need to come in that soon. It needs to come in like here. There we go. Namely, sauropodomorphs. Whoa! Hey, how about we make sure that that's off screen when it starts? It usually denotes. Namely, sauropodomorphs plus Herrerasaurids. It usually denotes. Namely, sauropodomorphs plus Herrerasaurids. You guys sick of that one particular clip of sound yet? Welcome to motion graphics. I have to laugh at my friend. Every once in a while, I'll be voice chatting with him and he'll hear his voice through my mic for some reason. And he has this vehement, horrified reaction to the sound of his own voice. And it's and I've had to listen to my own voice constantly for years, so I no longer have any illusion about how I sound. So I think he's being a bit of a baby. All right. The next thing that comes in is this one. Let's move our work area, which you can just click and drag, by the way. I've been doing B and N to adjust the beginning and end, but if I just need to slide it, you can just slide it. Now, anyone... All right, I want this to be on this picture when I start this sentence. So I'm going to move these keyframes to be aligned with that. And then 2506. Well, yeah, that's probably not enough time. So we're going to go to 2412. There we go. Zoop. And there we go. Joachim1400 asks, if you could be any dinosaur, what dinosaur would you be? I don't know that I'd want to be a dinosaur. But if this was like a curse, and the witch that's cursing me to be a dinosaur was like forcing me into it, I suppose some kind of long-lived parrot, because then I could at least still talk in theory, or maybe a crow. Because crows are very intelligent and seem to be able to interact with the world around them in something approaching a sapient manner. So that might be my best bet. If you specifically mean extinct non-avian dinosaurs, definitely Allosaurus. Wait, what? Oh, okay. I was looking at this and noticing that it wasn't moving, but that's because I hadn't actually adjusted it yet. I just thought I had. Because I'm a professional and also apparently senile. Used this way. Now anyone... Okay, so I need this to land in order, which means... Oh, shit. I mean, family-friendly version of what I just said. Oh no, not Big Al. Big Al died in agony. That's horrible. Carrie Seymour offers that when she broke her wrist a couple of years back, she was unable to pronate her hand and found that frustrating. So bipedal dinosaurs might not be a good idea. Valid point. Although bipedal dinosaurs might not need their hands for that kind of thing because I'm interacting with the world through my mouth, mostly. So it's like being a baby human. Taxonomy isn't used this way. Now, anyone else who wants to... All right, that works. They just slide over very smoothly. You raise a fair objection, though. Like, I live in slightly constant fear of messing up my wrists more than I already have. And I hope I don't, because then I wouldn't be able to work for as long as it takes to heal, probably. You wouldn't think it, but sitting at a desk using a tablet and keyboard and mouse is weirdly straining on your extremities in a way that you wouldn't usually think it would be. Like, I have to do stretches and stuff. Which probably just tells you that my posture is terrible, which is also probably true. He said, sitting up straighter. Then these need to come in as well. Pardon. I'm probably going to go back and stagger these once it's all said and done, but for now I'm just going to get the motion set. So for this one, I dragged the beginning of the layer to the frame after the one I was looking at, which wasn't quite where I wanted to be. And we're just going to move this manually. Oh! I went to move it manually, but I didn't grab the right thing. There we go. So I want this to be sort of a radial thing, so it's going to start, it's going to move along this path that you can see here. It even shows you a little dot at each frame where it's going to move, which is useful. Because there's no, I have like a hacky way to do onion skinning in After Effects, and I'm sure there's plugins that'll do it too, but there's no actual onion skinning vanilla in After Effects, so this is the best we've got, is this coordinate at such and such frames before the dot. Harry Rickenbach says, hi all. Hi, Harry. Or Rickenbach, probably. No, bad Steven. This needs to start there, and it needs to end. There we go. There. Mean. This is not to say... What? Oh. I was like, why did it change all of a sudden? Because I never actually went in and... All of this is parented to null 2. So I need to actually keyframe null 2 if I want any of this to look at all smooth. So far, there's only been that one thing that I needed to actually draw, or I guess clean up ink for this segment. So we're going somewhat quickly, which is cool. There are others in here that have a lot more drawn stuff, which is probably going to be slower going to the animation for. But in this, it's all just the same image repeated several times with slight variations. So we can just do this. All right, let's see what we got here. This is not to say we should never revise. Something weird just happened there. This is not to say we should never revise which Sariskia they mean. This is not to say we should which Sariskia they mean. All right, so for starters, that first ore doesn't need to start moving until there. Second, I appear to have messed up a keyframe somewhere for this guy. They mean. This is not to say that's better. Joachim1400 asks, when will there be a video on a marine reptile? Well, we did Spinosaurus, but I know what you're asking. It won't be the next episode, because the next episode is going to be about Velociraptor, because I have so many Velociraptor toys you don't even know. But the episode after that will be up to the patrons, and we will figure out voting methods for that closer to when production is due to start. But I definitely need to do Mosasaurus at some point, because we have a beautiful Mosasaurus sculpture. It's not even a toy, it's just a statue of a Mosasaurus that we should talk about. And I have a number of marine reptile toys as well. I think I have an ichthyosaur. I don't know which one, probably Ichthyosaurus. I know I have some plesiosaurs. And I have this one weird looking one. It's this little tiny toy. It looks like they took a pterodactyl head, like not a pteranodon, but a pterodactyl head, and put it on a pliosaur body. And it's just a toy, and it looks awful. Oh, Joachim is excited about Velociraptor, as am I. If I were more internet savvy, I would have had if I had been more internet savvy and my life hadn't blown up recently, I would have had the Velociraptor episode ready to go for Velociraptor Awareness Day. But it was not meant to be. Never revised taxonomic definitions. This one is just... I think that's all there is. I think we just finished this segment. Let's find out together. Oh, I should set my work area. Oh good, my work area is already set. Gonna preview this. Carrie asked, are non-avian dinosaurs still considered reptiles? The proposed classification is not with that. Hang on, I'm gonna mute this. If I can. There we go. Try this again. To answer your question, reptile is considered an evolutionary grade, so it's not a cladistic term. I suppose the scientific way to answer that is that they are stem birds which have some constellation of reptilian characteristics. But you're right. By marine reptile, what we're really asking is aquatic adapted sauropsids, I guess. I'm not even entirely sure where mosasaurs and ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs all are grouped. I think plesiosaurs are considered archosaurs, probably pliosaurs as well, since those are related, but I think ichthyosaurs are off by themselves. I think they're like closer to crocodiles, which would mean that they are archosaurs, but I'm not totally sure. It's not my specialty, so I'm genuinely not sure what it would mean. And I was so busy answering that question that I was forgetting to do what I meant to do, which is check this animation as it plays. Do you say that word squamate? Joachim offers that mosasaurs are squamates. Do you say that squamates or squamates? Because I think it's squamates, but I'm not sure. So this is a really simple section about a really complex idea, which is the difference between taxonomic systems and cladistic systems. But hopefully the visuals, breaking it down specifically to have, you know, this group and this group and this group and this group, and show, you know, why that's a problem, shows why that's a problem, if you'll excuse the tautology. Okay, next, saving project. So we finished that segment. Cool. We're going to go to... I need to change the battery on my microphone, so I'm just going to leave this loop for a second while I do that. And if it makes a bad sound when I power off the mic, I'm sorry. Okay, my mic has a battery again, so that's nice. Ah! And it almost fell off the desk again. I'm using OBS for streaming, and I really wish that they would let you order your audio monitors the way that they let you order your other sources. Or, well, maybe it inherits your source. I didn't even think of that. I need to mess with that later. I didn't even think that maybe the order that I have the video sources affects the order in which they're listed in the audio mixer. That would make sense, and it did not even occur to me. Joachim offers that according to our Lord Wikipedia, praise be, if reptiles were to be classified as a monophyletic clade, it would include all non-avian dinosaurs and birds. That makes sense. Though that also introduces the problem that, in that case, reptile ceases to be a useful classification, because it doesn't tell you a whole lot about the animals that are in it, other than that they're more closely related to each other than they are to other animals. What am I opening? 12 characters. Cool. Hey. Once again, I misclicked and went to import something. There we go. Hey, this one looks like... Okay, first off, this one is way longer than the previous one, and it's got a lot more going on. So let's see what's going on here. Let's start with the first couple of... Hey, we get to do some actual cleanup art. Home. Yeah, character encoding. Cool. Statistic analysis can, of course, only be as reliable as the data it's analyzing. So, were the author's character coding methods reliable? All right. Okay, I see what I'm trying to go for here. It looks like I want these to look like the same style as this, so let's start with that. Make a new... Yeah. Make a new shape layer. Put it right here. Call it... lines 4. I'm actually going to copy the contents of lines 4, if I can. Yes. That's interesting that it's upside down. Not sure how that happened. You know, I suppose it doesn't matter right now. All right, go to the endpoint of this layer. And I'm going to parent this to my guide here, data reliability 01. And I'm going to adjust my paths. I don't need my effects controls, do I? So now that I'm in path edit mode, I should be able to just drag a box around all the... I could! Ha ha! Double click and rotate them. No. There we go. All right. I'm going to do this. And we're going to do this. And we're going to add a path. We're going to put that path right here. All right. That was relatively easy. So we're going to add a new shape layer. I'm going to call this, if it'll let me, there we go, data 1. I'm going to parent it to data reliability 01 as well. I'm going to add a path. And we're going to start tracing. Add path. Not sure whether I want to... Yeah, I guess I will. Add path. Add path. All right, and then we'll add a group, put all of those paths into that group, and add a fill. And we don't want it to be black, or we don't want it to be red, we want it to be gray or black, which we can just set manually because it's easy. Saturation 0, brightness, I don't know. Maybe it should be white. I'm going to leave it black. Joakim1400 asks, what are your opinions on T-Rex skin covering and lips, aka all the T-Rex controversies? I don't view it as a controversy, I view it as a conversation. Lips totally make sense, supported by phylogenetic bracketing. There's no reason to think that they wouldn't have had a way to cover their teeth. Also, in my personal opinion, it just looks better. Skin covering, aka integument, much more of an open question. The current evidence seems to suggest that they were mostly, if not completely, bald. They wouldn't have had a feathery covering. Although that doesn't mean that as babies they wouldn't have had a feathery covering. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they would have been bald like as soon as they grew up. Maybe they went through like an emperor penguin type transition where they were fluffy for their entire juvenile lives, and then once they reached, you know, a ton or something, they started to molt and just didn't regrow those feathers. I never understood the like emotional vehemence with which people objected to the feathery T-Rexes. I always thought that feathered T-Rex looked a little better anyway because it's a giant murder bird and it should look like a murder bird and not a weird bipedal croc. But the evidence seems to be pointing to a mostly tubercle pavement integument. Also, the people at Saurian seem to think that it was a unfeathered adult, and who am I to disagree with that team? They know what they're doing. I'm considering whether I want to make a separate group for all of the rivets or make a... No, I want to make a group within this group and then add the ellipses. Ellipse. And then I'm going to hide the fill. What? You'll notice that since I added the ellipse just normally, it's showing up way over there. So I was really hoping that I would be able to click and drag this ellipse, but it grabbed the group instead, so I'm going to have to move these manually. Unless... I'm going to regret doing that if I do it that way. I keep hitting the size when I mean to hit the position, and I don't know why I keep doing that. Welcome to my live stream where I'm moving circles for half an hour. It occurs to me that you guys might not be able to see this that well. Let me try making it yellow. That might stand out a little better. Oh, I went Control D, but because I didn't have an entity selected, I just had a property. It duplicated the whole layer, which I didn't want to do. That's all right. Now you might say, Stephen, why don't you draw this in Illustrator and import it? That would definitely be the smarter way to go. But I'm not entirely sure it would be faster. Would definitely be faster to draw it in Flash and bring it in, but to import a Flash image without just rendering it as PNG or something, to import it as a vector, your options are export it as an SWF movie and import the SWF, or open the FLA in the current version of Adobe Animate CC, export it as an SVG, open it in Illustrator, save it as an AI, and import the AI to After Effects, and that lets you use it as a vector. Joachim has to get going, and he's asking, when will the next episode come out? The episode that I am currently working on will be out when it's done. I am trying my very best to get it out the first week in May, but if you are subscribed to our Patreon, you will be seeing weekly updates on how far along in the animation process I am. I am not quite at the halfway point, so we will see. Oh, Joachim says to take your time, man. Thank you. All right, then we get to move circles again. It's taking a very long time. There's probably a faster way to do this. So I've got 2 more of these to do. Four, five, six. Mm-hmm. Oh. So rather than individual moving each circle, I made a row of circles. And it looks like I need to extend it, actually. Let's do just even numbers. Whoops. $130, $160, $190. Oh, I messed that up. There we go. So now all I have to do is rotate this slightly. Hey, there we go. Nice little row of rivets. And wow, I expended all of my ability to brain on doing that and didn't have any left to remember where add group is. There we go. Yes, After Effects, thank you. It auto-saved for me. There we go. There we go. Did I have any more rivets on this thing? Do I need any more rivets on this thing? Press U to collapse all layers. I think that's getting the point across admirably. I think we need to move on to the next letter. that's the wrong thing. I'm going to make this yellow as well so that I know that they're associated with each other. All right, then we're going to add group. Whoops, I'm going to add it to the top level. To the top level. There we go. Call that T. While we're doing all of this, I'm going to change the anchor point of the layer using the pan behind tool. There we go. All right, then to T, I'm going to add a path. To do this, add a path. Add a path. Add a path. Oh. So I clicked too fast there. I started drawing the path before the path was actually created in the shape layer, and it made a fresh shape group for me, which I didn't need. Hide the fill for a second. Open up A1, copy this group, paste it. I didn't want the one with 2 dots, I wanted the one with 3 dots. There we go. All right. Duplicate that group. See if it'll let me rotate it. It did! All right. Duplicate that group again. Move it over to here. Again, move it over to here, rotate it. Oh. So if you press R, it opens up the rotation for the layer, not for the element that you are currently in within the layer. There might be a shortcut to do that, but I don't know what it is. Let's just adjust the position. Oh. There we go. Ah, this is disorienting. And because this is taking forever, I'm going to do the lazy thing and just duplicate the A. Because time is valuable. I can maybe try to hide it if if I do this and then scale it to -100, that'll flip it horizontally. Does that disguise that I just copied the same letter over? I think it does. All right. So we're finally done with that thing. In fairness, that thing is on screen for almost 10 whole seconds, so that was time well spent. I'm not being facetious. 10 seconds is actually kind of a lot in animation. Even though this isn't animation, this is motion graphics, but meh. I guess it shouldn't be black. Maybe it could be. We'll figure it out. All right. I'm going to duplicate data tree 1. Harry Seymour offers a riveting performance. Thanks for that. I do hope that my imagery is clear here. We've got really solid data and then kind of crap data that's just held together by poorly driven in nails. And I'm going to use far fewer nails than are pictured here because I've learned from the rivets last time that we need to not have so many individual little elements. So let's see here. New shape layer. I'm going to make it yellow. I'm going to call it data 2. I'm going to parent it to layer 8, data reliability. And we're going to go to our contents. We're going to add a path. I'm going to make that path right here. Oh. I clicked close enough to the existing. I think there's a setting that I need to change. Because if you click not on a point, but close enough to a vertex, it will assume that you were trying to select it. And I, under certain circumstances, want that turned off. All right, then. Add path. Add group. Add group. Maybe I didn't need both those groups. Add stroke. Add path. Path. the stroke needs to be below those, but above the main path. Oh. There we go. Then add a fill. It's going to be the color of magenta. No, it's going to be brownish like wood. Good enough. Non-zero winding, even, odd. Okay, clearly we need to group the wood grain within the wood. Oh, that still didn't work. Put that in the group, take these out of the group. That worked. All right, that took a second, but we should be able to just copy paste that one group and just adjust it as we need it. Oh, if I had the anchor point set correctly, that is. Anchor point. It's out of control. There we go. Go. Cool. Oh, that didn't occur to me. There aren't any lines in between these boards, so I guess they're going to have to be somewhat different colors? Or maybe, what can we do? Because in my sketch I have outlines, obviously. And I don't want to outline them here because that doesn't really fit our art style. I suppose since I have to make them separate fills anyway, there's no reason not to make them separate colors. Maybe not quite that saturated. Sure, why not? All right, next. We need another board. And before I make that mistake again, I'm going to change the anchor point of this one. There we go. Oh, not what I wanted to do. I don't even know why I'm bothering that, because nobody's going to see it anyway. There we go. Then we need to copy board 2. And rotate it like so. Maybe we don't even need nails. If this winds up looking ramshackle enough, we might as well do without them, because, again, time. I recognize that that probably reflects poorly on me, but there are some things that just take a while to draw and are not really worth the added effort when you really hoped that you would have had this episode done by Christmas, and things intervened to make that not possible. Okay, so now we've got the that thing you have on maps, the 4-color limit, where if I want, I can't make the board that underlaps this the same color as it, but I also can't make it the same color as this, so it has to be a 3rd color. I'm going to there's a rule in map making that if you're trying to color in the countries on a map, there's a minimum number of colors you can use based on the network of countries. I think Numberphile has a video about this, actually. And because many times a country will touch 5 other countries, it can't be the same color as any of those countries. And there's a theory that, like on a map of the United States, you only need 4 colors to color in all of the states. But maybe on a map that has countries that touch in unexpected ways, you're going to need more colors than that. I might be completely off base in all of this, and it's called something completely different, but that's what I remember it being. Not a map maker. Should have been a map maker. I don't know that there's too much demand for map makers anymore, or cartographers, I guess would be the fancy word. That's probably a much cooler job than it was even 100 years ago, because now you're using satellites and stuff. Oh, Carrie Seymour says she knows it as the 4 colors theorem from her studies, and knows it's incredibly hard to prove mathematically, and that it's been done, but it wasn't exactly pretty. Oh, that's a shame. where's my fill? There's my fill. Let's make this a little oranger, a little less saturated. Okay. And we're going to turn the opacity back up to 100 and deselect the layer so it gets rid of that. And that looks fine to me. I could probably even lighten the grain lines. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go through. Thank you, After Effects. Autosave. Well, it autosaves, so I should manually save while it's doing that. 1 second. There we go. I'm going to twirl down all of my strokes. All right, and then I'm going to link this color to this color. This color to this color. And this color to this color. 1, 2. Did I miss one? I did. So in theory, if I change the top level color by, say, making it super bright and super desaturated, yep, that changes all of them, but I don't want it to be super light and super desaturated. I just wanted to adjust it a bit. Good enough. All right. Try to twirl all of these down. All right, and then add another group. We got groups in groups in groups. I'm gonna move that into there. I'm gonna call that. Funny story, when I moved them into a group, it broke all of my expression links. Fortunately, I think I can just press U, U, U. And that brings up all properties that have been modified. Whoa, can't do that twice in a row, huh? There we go. Okay. Cool. I renamed this part of the shape layer, but it didn't break the scripts, so that's cool. All right, for this one I know 1, 2, 3. I only need 3 boards. Rotate this one. Oh, I need to turn my opacity down again, so I can see what I'm doing, even though I recognize that makes it harder for you guys to see what I'm doing, which is an unfortunate trade-off. go. Just that around. So it looks about right. All right. Good enough. Next, board 5 needs to be over here and also above board. I'm not actually sure what that phrase means, above board. Is that like the opposite of under the table? All right, and then board 4, which needs to be up there and rotated and also moved while we're doing that. There-ish, and then rotates. Cool. Just like that. Oh. I clicked, you must do it. There you go. There's another board. All right. You can put it on the board. I don't know if there's anybody from Chicago that is listening to this. You might recognize that reference, but that's about the only reference pool. I'm not even sure of that guy's name. There's an announcer who would work at the baseball games in Chicago, and whenever somebody scored, he would say, "You can put it on the board." Yes. And it was iconic. And he worked for years and years and years, so people were very fond of him. T actually has 3 boards as well, so we'll just do that. Actually, while we're at it, I'm gonna cheat the same exact way on A2 that I did on A2 on the other one. I'm going to scale it by -100 and then move it into position. Oh, Carrie Seymour looked up the phrase above board for me. And Google says it is the opposite of under the table, and it shows that you're not cheating. That makes sense. That makes sense, because you usually hear it as, you know, this is above board, this is legitimate. Whoa, what? Oh, I grabbed the whole layer there. I didn't mean to do that. Bad Stephen. Why won't it let me do this? Fine. Have it your way then. I guess this is Burger King now. Did you know that that slogan is really old? Like, my memory of that slogan being associated with Burger King is just a few years old. Like, I swear they started doing that, if I had to guess, in like 2001, but they've had that slogan for decades. And I'm quiet at the moment because I realized that 2001 was decades ago and I feel old, but no, they've had it for, as far as I can tell, as long as they've been in business, and I was surprised. Whoa, no, bad. Not what I wanted to do. Alright, then this one. Oh. Yeah, I did that wrong. On both of the A's, board 4, this path needs to be above the stroke, otherwise the stroke won't apply to it. Board 4, path 5. Now it's there. All right. And the last thing we have to do is that little crappy board on T. So let's do that. And then we'll be done with this because I have officially decided that I am not doing nails. Because for the reasons already stated. Okay. See, having that in all of those fancy colors makes me want this to be a different color, so we'll probably do that. And that's easy to do because this is all one fill. But that doesn't make sense. So let's make it like a weird... gray grayish blue or bluish gray. Cool. I think we should widen that base. Make it really clear that it's resting on the data. Oh, we need to turn up the opacity on that, don't we? There we go. All right, then we're going to hide this. And we're going to take our character composition. If I could remember where my cursor is, there we go. I'm going to make a new composition out of it. And that tells me that I didn't set my endpoints properly, so 1 second. There we go. All right, we're going to thanks, computer. We're going to call this 12 characters textured. And then we're going to go over to our outgroups and support textured and copy some stuff. Okay, we're going to go over to our taxonomy textured and copy some stuff because there's less going on. I hope I did that right. I did that wrong. So After Effects remembers the order of your layer stack when you copy paste, but it also remembers the order that you selected them in. So because I went from bottom to top, it pasted them from top to bottom. It pasted them with the bottom layer at the top, which is not what I wanted. So I'm going to try that again. There we go. And the reason I did that is I just want to copy this shadow effect and paste it onto this. And I'm going to delete that, and there we go. And I need to pick a background for this that will look nice with that image. So the difference, I'm noticing that the difference in value between the lightness, that is, between this side and this side is substantial, which could help to illustrate the contrast between them, but in practice it's just making one of them blend in with the background and the other one in. So we're going to change that. Just going to make this nice and bright. That's better. That said, this can't be cyan because our last segment is cyan, and I'm trying to mix up the backgrounds on this episode instead of using the same one for the entire episode like I usually do. Let's see, I already used purple, so let's use a dark yellow. I don't know why I'm clicking and dragging this when there's a thing I could do right there and do it analog much more easily. Considering that I'm using an analog input anyway. There we go, brown. The ugliest possible brown. It's a slightly warmer brown. I think I'm okay with that. Oh, I probably don't need my proportional grid on, do I? Yeah, that works. I'm considering whether I want to colorize those at all. I suppose I don't. All right, and the next thing that has to happen is we're going to knock down the one that had rickety data. So we're going to Control-Shift duplicate our data 02. There we go. And we're going to go to our contents, and we just need to have all the boards lay down, so that shouldn't be too hard to do. All right. There we go. I don't know what do I have my autosave set to? Is it like every 15 minutes? Because it seems like it's more frequent than that. All right. I'm going to I might say, Stephen, why don't you just all set them to 90 or negative 90? And I don't want them to be exactly laying flat. That's boring. They need to be around 90. Or in that case, negative 270. Multiples of 90, I should say. And this is not on screen long enough for me to worry too much about how it looks, but I do want it to be somewhat consistent. There we go. Transform board. I don't know why it's giving me these difficulties. All I'm trying to do is click and drag it. Fine, we'll use the position function. Like a barbarian. It's not a function, it's a property. All right. And in this case, I'm not worried about the same colors overlapping because it's supposed to just look like a mess. And that's what it looks like. All right. Done with D, on to A1. If I wanted to get really fancy, I could have... No, I don't want to get really fancy. I was just thinking to myself that I could animate this, have it like shake slightly and then break. Again, time. It's probably an irresponsible use of my time to do that. Well, those all wound up being right next to each other, so I can just move the whole group down. Simple. Real simple lack. And we're done with A. Same thing here. There we go. And there we go. That looks like what it should look like, which is a pile of boards, and that was way faster than drawing it from scratch again. Okay, then this needs to be fallen forward, so we're going to hide data 02 for now. Or not. We're going to hide data 02 broken for now. And I'm going to go to data tree 02. Let's see. I guess we could just scale it. If I scale it here, does it scale the stroke? It does. That being the case, I'm going to try to stop whistling every S. And I think I'll just make a add ellipse. No, I don't want to add an ellipse. That's bad. That doesn't fit the style of the show. This phylogeny was apparently being held up by a weird hook shape. Let's see what that looks like. It would help if I had everything appropriately visible or invisible. It would also help if data 02 broken was underneath data tree 02 in the layer stack, so that showed up laying on top of it.
I mentioned that Langer et al. Corrected a wide swath of Baron et al.'s characters. Any cladistic analysis can, of course, only be as reliable as I meant.
Oh no, I'm dumb. I did a dumb thing. Can you see the dumb thing that I did? I changed the tree, but I didn't keyframe it. Okay, that's easy to fix, kind of. Okay. was a rookie mistake, to forget that you're not keyframing. Admittedly, I probably am a little rusty. Try that again.
As reliable as et al. Corrected a wide swath of Baron et al. Characters. Any cladistic analysis can, of course, only be as reliable as... I mentioned that Langer et al.
I'm half tempted to actually animate that because I think it would get the point across better. But I'm going to have to do that another time because it is almost 6 o'clock and my mic's battery is dying. So, if you've stuck with me through this somewhat tedious stream, I want to thank you. If this is the kind of thing you would like to see more often, you should consider heading over to our Patreon, which is in the description of the YouTube video and also available from the Discord's information section. And consider supporting us at the tier which gets you access to these streams, which I will be doing more of, possibly as soon as tomorrow if nothing silly happens. We will announce for all patrons at that tier when I'm doing a stream, obviously. But hopefully I'll be able to do another one tomorrow or Thursday. Thank you again, everyone, for watching, and I will see you next time.